Casey,
Hello.
Yeah,
you at your desk?
I am.
Print the calendar out for me, please.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
coming to get it.
y'all trying to use up my ink. Okay, come on.
All right.
You know what? We couldn't print out anything. Anna, were y'all able to print out stuff at your office?
I'm not at the office.
Oh, okay. But yeah, our printers just, it says cloud, whatever it's supposed to say. And you go to the machine, put your card in, and it just doesn't even recognize that you sent anything. It's a mess. Oh, and I've got a time crunch where I need to take my cases first. If you happen to have any signature bonds that you know of, we'll try to do those real quick. It's an unusual day.
I'm asking for a surety in all my cases.
Okay.
Mr. Brown and Ms. McCaughey, if you would let Mr. McLean know any of your cases are SOBs.
No, I'm going to be asking for surety bonds on all of mine as well.
Let's see.
Right. Cookie crumble. Understood.
Melashini Brown. I'm asking for a signature bond in that one.
Yeah, that's going to be Alex.
Yeah, I have the first like 8, so they're probably all PD Chachaya's.
Yeah, you're probably right.
She's a conflict case, though.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
She's conflict.
Miss
Oh,
Brown
okay.
case.
Gotcha.
Casey, I sent you one more.
Here we coming. You sent me what?
Miss Allen, can you hear me?
I can, Your Honor. You're a little low, though.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. That's why I need to make sure. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin with our misdemeanor first appearance calendar. These are misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail, and soon thereafter, their cases have been formally accused. When we address each of the cases, the defendants must remember that they have a right to remain silent. Anything that they say in open court, their statements can and will be used against them in the treatment of their case. The right to an attorney, if you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Today, we will be addressing these new cases, so I will let the defendant know what is their new case number, the charges that have been brought against them, to appoint counsel where required, and to also set a bond. If you are a victim, a family member, or a friend here to support a defendant, please make sure that your video is off and that your screen is muted, and that you can come on when we are ready to address the case that you're interested in. Courtroom 2, who shall we begin with?
Position number 8, Ms. Holmes. Ms. Holmes, come have a seat in the green chair.
Oh, Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. McLean?
as soon as we could, if we could take a bunch of my cases, I have a time crunch and just would ask to do those if that's not inconvenient.
Can
I've
you
got-
give us your position numbers for your cases?
We didn't print out anything. I'll go back to the computer for the calendar, but our printer would not accept a print command. So let me grab those position numbers and send them to you.
All right, Mr. McLean, you're just not having Good Friday, so.
No, that's absolutely right.
All right, Deputy, if it's possible, if we can call Mr. McLean's clients first, but who do we have right now? Position 8, Jacqueline Holmes is accused of violating a family violence protective order and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Ms. Holmes, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. Alex Chate. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
13. On first offender probation, theft by conversion. Got 2 open cases out of state court. One for obstruction, trespass. It's 24 CR 007741A. 24 CR 001915A. That's battery DV. 2024 FTA. 2009 simple battery NOLO, and a resident of Columbus, Georgia.
All right, thank you. Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, Your Honor. As Mr. Howard stated, this defendant has 2 open cases. Both of those cases are against the same victim, Mr. Lee Jordan. In both of those cases, she was ordered to stay away from the incident location and also have no further contact with Mr. Jordan. Case 24 CR 1915A, the battery, family violence, and willful obstruction, stems from an April 2024 incident where the defendant was accused of striking and scratching the victim. She was given a $3,000 SOB by Judge Morrow on April 16th in order to stay away from the location, 1613 Stanton Road Southwest, and have no further contact with Mr. Jordan. Case 24 CR 7741A, the willful obstruction and criminal trespass. That stems from a November 2024 incident where the defendant violated her April 2024 bond order by being on that property. She refused to comply with officers' commands that she leave the residence. The current incident is from yesterday when officers found the defendant at the location, 1631 Stanton Road Southwest. The victim, Mr. Jordan, told officers that the defendant had also been making threats to kill him. When officers asked the defendant to leave, she refused, and officers had to tussle with her in order to get her into custody. The state's recommendation is a $2,000 cash bond or at least a very high surety bond, given her violations of previous orders to have no contact and to stay away. We are asking that she again stay away from that incident location, have no further contact with Mr. Lee Jordan, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I do see that at one point she was placed on the competency calendar. I'm not sure if that is something that she needs to be placed on again. I would ask the court to sound for the victim in this case, Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Lee Jordan, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. Chate, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor, just that my client is 52. She's lived in Georgia for over the past 10 years. Currently, she doesn't work. Most recently, she worked as in a customer service role for about a year and a half, and I believe she would struggle to pay a high cash bond amount. For those reasons, we ask for the lowest surety amount that this court would think would be appropriate to secure her future return. Now, I also asked for a social worker visit from our office, and I was informed that she would have a place to stay were she to leave on bond, and that she was stable.
Okay. Is it Miss Bridgewater or who is Miss Strong? What's our next court date?
It's February the 13th.
Okay. On the violating of family violence order is a $2,500 surety. The willful obstruction is $1,000 surety. And we're going to reset this case along with the two other cases on the calendar listed as companion cases to the SAP calendar on February 13th at 9 a.m. No further contact with Lee Jordan. She's not to communicate with him in any way, form, or manner, and to stay 500 yards away from 1631 Stanton Road in Atlanta, Georgia. That's a distance of 5 football fields. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
Judge, are we doing a social worker visit for her?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was going to mention that. Social worker visit as well.
And also the regular SAP calendar, correct?
Regular SAP calendar, unless the PD's office tells us differently.
Okay, Ms. Holmes, you can go. Go ahead. Next, Your Honor, we could go to position number 1, Ms. Alexander.
This is State versus Antonasia Alexander, accused of driving while license suspended or revoked and speeding from January 30th, 2025. Ms. Alexander, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Is that right, Mr. Chate? I thought we were addressing Mr. McLean, but I guess we'll be there soon. All right. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Second, 2024 suspended license.
Okay, and Ms. Mukeke?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is accused of driving 75 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone while her license was suspended. When officers made contact with her, she did acknowledge that she knew her license was indeed suspended. The state's recommendation is a signature bond, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond, absolutely no driving without a valid license and the proper documentation.
Mr. Chate, on the driving while license suspended is $1,500. On the speeding is $500. The total bond is $2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services level 2. No driving until she has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. Ms. Alexander, I'm giving you an opportunity for release bond. If you get arrested again for anything else, the next time you're in jail, that bond will either be a cash bond or a surety bond. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 10, Ms. Morris.
There we go. Your Honor, it turns out that I have 7, but not 8. And then I have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. In addition to 9 through 15, with the exception of 8, I also have add-on number 2.
Your Honor, in quorum 2, we'll try our best to get Mr. McLean's clients, but we do have an order.
All right, thank you. All right, we are addressing Sanaz Morris. Mr. Morris, Miss Morris has got 6 misdemeanor offenses stemming from January 30th, 2025. Driving under the influence of multiple substances, endangering a child by driving under the influence of alcohol, possession of an open alcohol container, expired tag or unregistered vehicle, violation of conditions on limited driving permit, and driving under the influence of alcohol. Ms. Morris, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
25. 03 DUI conviction, 01 DUI conviction, 2 DUI convictions from 2006, 2023 a DUI arrest. She got a lot of open cases in state court. Got an open DUI 23 DF 001745G, 23 DF 008303J. That's a DUI fail to maintain lane reckless driving. Got an open I got an open public drunk obstruction. It's a lot.
Oh, I see all these cases over here.
Okay.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. All right. That's enough then. I'm good.
I've got that. Thank you. Mr. McLean? I'm sorry, Miss Allen, excuse me.
She also was just arrested and not, or she was just cited and not arrested. So she's got a felony level 25 PI case as well from the 27th of January, DUI and endangering a child.
right. Anything else?
We're asking for a $5,000 cash bond, Your Honor, no driving and an ankle monitor. This individual is not only a menace, but a danger to her immediate family, continues to drive under the influence of alcohol as well as multiple prescription drugs, and has multiple open cases for the same type of behavior. They should not be on the road and probably should not be back out in public.
The DF cases, are those the ones referred to drug court? I mean, the DUI court?
They probably are, yes. There are 2 at least of those.
Okay.
That is correct, Your Honor. That's
All
what
right.
that. Your Honor,
The bond conditions she currently has are incapable of constraining her behavior, Your Honor.
I know. Mr. McLean? Yes, sir.
yes, Your Honor. We had a discussion about the medicine that would make a person nauseous if they consumed alcohol. And abuse was an early one. I think they have some more now. Your Honor, Ms. Morris is 46 years old. She is an accountant. She's not a CPA, but she's an accountant, not on that level. She works for a mobility company. And what they do is they fix cell tower things, and she keeps the books. High school graduate, plus the accounting courses in college. We would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible.
On count 1, count 2, count 5, and count 6 is going to be 10,000 each. Count 3 and 4 are 5,000 each. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's a $50,000 cash bond only. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. Absolutely no driving at all. Even if she has a limited permit or anything to that effect, she's not allowed to own or operate any motor vehicles. And she, in the event she is released, she shall be equipped with an ankle monitor to make sure that she is not driving any vehicle. If we cannot stop her from any other manner, then it'll take an ankle monitor to keep track of her movements. Monitoring expenses will be paid for by the defendant, and we're going to reset 3 of the cases as well as the new case to the SAP calendar, unless DUI court wants all these cases with.
Your Honor, can you go through that again?
Counts 1 and 2, 5 and 6, 10,000 each, cash bond only. 3 and 4, 5,000 cash bond only. Next court date will be February 13th. And we will, did you get that, Deputy?
I didn't. I'm sorry. It may be me. Can we do it one more time?
It's not used to hearing these figures. Okay. 1 and 2 are 10,000 each. 5 and 6 are 10,000 each. 3 and 4 are 5,000 each. Total bond is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 cash bond only. Ankle monitor, no driving, reset all the CR cases, including the new one. I don't know about the DF cases. Those have to be referred back to DUI court. Thank you.
Go ahead. Next, we can go to position number 2 on the add-on calendar, Mr. Murray. Murray.
Got them all.
Oh,
This is Willie Murray, 25 CR, excuse me, 508J. Mr. Murray is accused of battery, family violence, and violation of family violence order. Mr. Murray, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors? Well,
52 on probation for 2 different burglaries in Superior Court, one from 2018, one from 2022. 2024 battery DV, that was DWAP, a couple of probations from 2023, one from 2021. 2016 battery disorderly conduct, that was dismissed, and a 2014 simple battery dismissed.
all right. Mr. Brown, good. Hello?
Good morning, Your Honor. How are you?
I'm doing well, but I don't know what
All right.
time zone you're in. I'm in the afternoon, so.
Oh, well, excuse me. I'm sorry. My
That's
brain
okay,
is
I'm
in
just
the morning, my
teasing.
body's in the afternoon.
That's okay, I'm just teasing. What's
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
recommendation?
The recommendation, given the history of arrest and the felonies, I have 12 prior felonies and a few misdemeanors that pertain to violence. The state will be recommending $5,000 a surety bond and 2,500. Well, excuse me, on the battery family violence charge. That would be that, and 2,500 surety bond on the violation of the Protect Family Violence Order. If the court wants a factual background, I can give a little bit about that.
Briefly?
Yes, Judge. Briefly, this case is a matter where the victim and the defendant have had a prior case being 24 SC 002-725 in Superior Court, where there was aggravated assault, but he entered a PTI order of release type of document, which by agreement, he agreed not to have any contact or visit the resident of the victim until he completed with his program and treatment. That order is still active and current. However, on January 21st, 2025, he did go over her home and at a time while he was over there, attempted to become intimate. When rebuffed by the victim, he became visibly angry and upset, put his fist in her face, said, "I want to break your face," after which he then hit her and grabbed a hold of her arm, causing her right arm to bruise. State will be recommending those bond amounts, as well as, again, I guess, no further contact whatsoever with Natalie Fleming. Stay away from the address of 1133 Windsor Street, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, and just no alcohol, drugs without a prescription, or weapons.
All right, thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, he has 10th grade education. He works as a cook at Farmers Market in Forest Park, Georgia. He's 59 years old. We'd ask for the lowest bond possible. He's been in Georgia all his life.
All right, thank you. Mr. Murray?
Yes, ma'am.
You do understand that this could easily be a felony case in which you are charged with aggravated stalking. And
Yes,
that means that there will be no bond for up to 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to understand the gravity of the situation. On the battery family violence, the bond is going to be set at $3,500. Violation of the family violence order is going to be $3,500. This is a total of a $7,000 surety bond. You have to have no further contact with Natalie Fleming, which means that you are to stay 200 yards away from her and do not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You are not to be within 500 yards of where she's located, and as well as where she lives, 1133 Windsor Street in Southwest Atlanta, and also where she's physically located. Please,
Yes,
I cannot underscore the gravity of the situation. You could easily be looking at a felony aggravated stalking right now. Thank you.
Next,
Oh,
we can
next
go
court date, I'm sorry, next court date is February 13th.
February 13th is your next one. Next, we can go to position number 11 and 12, Mr. Oliver. Oh, wait, okay. Sit on the third one.
11 and 12, okay, sorry. Going between the two calendars, okay. Brandon Joshua Oliver is accused in 2 separate cases The first one stems from a January 30th, 2025 incident, accusation 25 CR 493B. And Mr. Oliver is accused of battery, family violence, and simple battery, family violence. The other case stems from a December 22nd, 2024 incident, and this is also against Mr. Brandon Oliver. Again, battery, family violence, and simple battery, family violence. Looks like there is well, these are the two cases that are open, 493 and 494, yeah. Mr. Brandon, excuse me, Mr. Oliver, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
7. 2020. This issue come out of Maryland. 2021 possession of narcotics with intent. 2 counts. Those of conviction. I didn't see. You don't have any violence that I saw.
All right. Miss Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Position number 11 is the most recent. It's from yesterday, January the 30th. Police were called to 2001 Sylvan Road Southwest. On scene, police spoke to both the defendant and the victim. Her name is Avery Lee. They also spoke to the property manager. The property manager pulled police aside and said that a third party there at the location apartment complex had come into the leasing office and reported seeing the defendant assault the victim. The victim had a visible injury to her head that she'd put a scarf on to cover. Property manager, Mrs. Edwards, then relocated to where the two individuals were, and she also observed the ongoing assault. The defendant was still putting his hands on the victim. There is, in addition, video footage showing the defendant bear hug the victim from behind as she was trying to walk away and throw her to the ground and then pick her up again as multiple people were trying to intervene. He's also seen swinging punches at her. When police separated the two and spoke to the victim, Mrs. Lee, she reported that she was moving out of the house that morning and they'd argued. The defendant then took the dog crate and struck her in the face with it. She had visible bruising on her forehead. She reported prior abuse by the defendant, and when he was taken into custody, police saw that he had an active warrant from another incident in December. So in December the 22nd, we've now moved to position number 12. At about 4:48 a.m., police were called to 2001 Sylvan Road Southwest. Their police spoke with the victim. She reported that she shares a child with the defendant and they were living together there at the location. He became upset while she was doing someone's hair and he walked through the living room and kicked some of her belongings. He then followed her into the kitchen and pushed her. He then punched her and she had a visible laceration to her forehead at that time. A neighbor heard this altercation and called the police. She reported observing the defendant assault the victim. So there again is a third-party witness. The defendant fled before police arrived, but the victim identified him for police. Follow-up with the victim was done with a DV investigator. She reported that the defendant was angry with her because he didn't watch her football game. We're asking for a $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor, on 11 and 12 each. No contact with the victim in this case, Mrs. Avery Lee, or any children that they share, and to stay away from wherever she's living right now. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. We did speak to Ms. Lee today. She reported that she and the defendant are in a relationship and share a child, and she confirmed the information in both warrants for those incidences. They were in the process of moving out for the most recent incident that happened yesterday. She also reported that she's called the police in the past. He needs anger management. Violence is an issue. She does say that she wants contact, but it's the state's position that based on the two cases in front of Your Honor, the fact that the victim is saying that these things happened and violence is an issue and there's a small child, we're asking for no contact. If you'd call for Mrs. Lee, thank you.
Ms. Avery Lee, I do see an Avery phone. Are you driving?
No, I'm currently just sitting in my car. Yes,
All
I
right.
took a step away. Yes, I was with my mom and child.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. Do you concur with the statements made by the prosecutor?
Yes.
And do you share a child with this defendant?
Yes.
Are you both married?
No, we are not.
All right. Thank you very much. And have you vacated the Sylvan Road location, or do you still live there?
Yes, I have vacated.
All right. Thank you. Mr. McLean, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. My 28-year-old client has a GED in terms of education.
Hang on. Sir, are you trying to signal to the victim? Is the defendant trying to ask something, or is he trying to signal to the victim?
I wanted to add something with you.
All right, then I'll get to you shortly, but do not communicate with the victim.
Okay.
Miss Lee, please switch off your video, but you can still observe. Mr. McLean, yes, sir.
Your Honor, Mr. Oliver is 28 years old. He has a GED. He has worked at Uncle Phil's, which is a restaurant. He's worked at the Juicy something seafood. I believe that's Juicy Crab. There's probably several juicy things around Atlanta these days as seafood has become even more popular. He's a cook. The Maryland stuff is what it is, and he's been in Georgia about 6 years, so I'd call him local. He has relatives. If necessary, he could have a different place to stay if the court orders it. Thank you.
On count one of position 11, that's going to be 3,500. On count two, that's going to be 2,500. That's going to be a $6,000 surety bond. Next court date for that case is February 13th. On position 12, that's going to be a 3,500 on count one and 2,500 on count two. That's going to be a $6,000 split bond, level 3, with a DVIP requirement. And in both cases, Mr. Oliver will have no further contact with Avery Lee and the child that he shares with Miss Lee. If he intends to have any kind of visitation or custody with the child, he must file a separate legitimation action to obtain a court order to establish visitation, custody, and as well as child support. He is allowed to return to 2001 Sylvan Road, Southwest Atlanta, as long as the victim and the child do not live there, or unless the landlord has filed a dispossessory action. Typically, they file eviction cases when there is domestic violence involving the tenants. If he is evicted from the premises, or if victim decides to resume occupation of the property, then Mr. Oliver is required to stay away from that entire apartment complex, and he must update the court with a new address within 30 days. If he makes bond, he will be required to report to pretrial once a week and enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released. He will attend all 26 weeks of classes without skipping or missing any of the classes. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and he will be subject to random screens. And by law, he's not allowed to own or possess any firearms. Next court date for both cases will be February 13th, unless he makes bond.
Judge, I'm sorry. Can you go through the bond one more time? I was on the phone at the time.
Okay. On position 11, position 1 is 3,500, position 2 is 2,500, and that's a surety bond with conditions. Position 12, position 1 is 3,500, position 2 is 2,500, and that's a $6,000 signature bond for pretrial level 3 with a DVIP requirement. Both cases require him to file a legitimation action. Mr. Oliver, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you and make it very difficult for your lawyer to represent you. Would you like to exercise your right to remain silent, or would you like to waive it?
I don't get what that means.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I can't imagine there are any more Ayala factors that would be addressable by him that we haven't covered, the categories we usually do.
Anything else to add? Okay, nothing else? Then Mr. Oliver is done.
I don't know what that mean. I was asking, what do that mean? I understand.
What do you not understand?
I didn't understand what you asked me. That's what I mean, I'm saying to you. I didn't understand.
Okay, I'm going to repeat this. Please pay attention. You have a right to remain silent. As an individual charged with a criminal offense, anything that you discuss about the facts or circumstances of your case in open court and without conferring with your attorney, your statements can and will be used by the prosecution in the prosecution of your case in a court of law. Now, if you want to say something, you would have to waive your right to remain silent. But of course, this will not be something that your attorney will be very happy with.
So I'm straight, man.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next case then.
We go to position number 6, Mr. Green. You go ahead and have a seat in the back.
That's why I write it all down.
Your Honor, while he's coming to the chair, we could do Joseph Parks, who has waived his presence.
All right, if you hold, please, who do I have in the chair?
Position number 6, Your Honor.
Is that your client, Mr. McLean?
What did they say his name was?
Mr. Green.
No, that's not
Okay,
one of
we'll be with your cases very shortly, just very shortly. Myron Green is accused of cruelty to animals on December 10th, 2024, accusation number 25 CR 502G. Mr. Green, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. Chate. Any priors?
Green 4. Was last arrested in 1991. Suspended license.
Thank you. Ms. Mokeke?
Yes, Your Honor. The animal control observed a severely underweight stray dog on the street with a gaping bloody wound in its rear. A microchip check revealed that the dog belonged to the defendant. The defendant claimed the dog was in the care of his mother and was bitten by another dog, and he had been trying to treat the dog for the last month. The dog eventually had to be euthanized due to the extent of its injuries, and based on the wounds and statements made by the defendant, it was determined that the dog was neglected and he had failed to provide her with the proper medical care. The state's recommendation for Mr. Green is a signature bond, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. That is all, Your Honor.
And Mr. Shatai, what's the recommendation?
Signature bond.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was a signature bond. Okay.
Yeah.
On the cruelty to animals, it's going to be a 4,500 signature bond for pretrial services, level 2. Mr. Green, you can sign up for your bond, but you have to comply with the conditions. If you fail to comply, you could be back in jail with a 4,500 cash bond or surety bond. Do you understand? The requirements are: number 1, no pets. You are not allowed to own, possess, or have any pets in your household until further order of the court. So I don't care whether it's a little bed bug or whether it's a full horse. You're not allowed to have any pets. Do you understand?
Yes.
You are to report to pretrial twice a month, and you're to enroll in a program called BARC. And you're to enroll in that program within 45 days of being released. You must show certificate of completion to the pretrial officer once you're done with the program. Thank you. Next court date will be sent to your current address.
Position number 2, Mr. Anderson.
All right. Can I just, Mr. Anderson can be seated in the chair. Mr. McLean, what other cases do you have with us?
I have Mr. Gress, Gres. Let's see.
Is that the waiver?
No, Your Honor, that's a gentleman who has come in from Alpharetta. I talked to him on the phone.
Okay, I don't think Gress has chimed in yet. Who else?
I've got Steger, Ridgeway. Parks is a waiver of presence. We did Oliver and Morris. Let's see, we Murray. We haven't done McMurray yet. So that would be it. Gress, McMurray, Parks Ridgeway Steger.
Okay. I don't think I can reach you between your crunch time, so we're gonna have to just see how it goes, okay?
Okay.
All right, this is position number 2. Romello Anderson, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from December 13th, 2023. Mr. Anderson, your case number is 25 CR 497H. You have a right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Chate. Any priors, please?
4. 2021 suspended license. January 28th, 2025 suspended license. Appears to have an open case for trading with inmates without consent of warden. That's all.
All right. Ms. Mokeke?
Your Honor, this incident location is 1085 5th Street Northwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Alicia Anderson, who is the defendant's sister. The defendant is accused of kicking in his sister's door and also busting out 3 of her windows. Our office has spoken with Ms. Anderson, who confirmed that her and her brother do not live together. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states she no longer lives at that incident location and that the damages have been repaired. She states that the defendant has since apologized and they have had no issues since. She states that she would like these charges to be dropped. Given his open cases, the state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond, no violent contact with his sister, Alicia Anderson, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Anderson if she's on the Zoom.
Ms. Anderson, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute. Avius Anderson.
Yes, I'm on the Zoom.
And out on the street? Okay. All right, Ms. Anderson, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right, so all the items have been repaired
Yes, ma'am.
and no issues?
No.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, the bond is set at $1,000. It's a signature bond through the jail. No violent contact with Avius Anderson. Next court date will be sent to your current address. Make sure you have a current address with the courts at all times. Thank you.
That's it.
What was the bond amount, Your Honor?
$1,000 signature bond through the jail.
Thank you. Your Honor.
Number 3, Ms. Brown.
This is Mila Shaney Brown, accused of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from January 25th, 2025, case number 25 CR 498G. Ms. Brown, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Chate. Any priors?
Your Honor, good afternoon.
Oh, Ms. McLeod. Okay, yes. All right. Your attorney is Ms. McLeod. Mr. Howard, any priors?
Not that I saw.
Okay. Ms. Mokeke?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection to a signature bond through the jail?
No objection to a signature bond, Your Honor. We would just ask that she have no further contact with Jaden Moss and also no further contact with Kamasha Morris. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Are those the officers?
No, she's accused of encouraging Mr. Moss to leave the scene of a murder by telling him, let's go, and leading him to a different location because she didn't want him to get caught. So we're asking that she have no further contact with him. He's currently incarcerated on felony murder and some other charges. And then Miss Kamasha Moss is the individual that Miss Kamasha Morris, I apologize, is the individual Mr. Moss gave the murder weapon to. So we just don't want her to have any contact with these individuals that are involved in the murder case.
$1,000 signature bond through the jail. I'm sure the DA's office will be able to keep track if she tries to communicate with them or if she hinders their investigation or apprehension. Thank you. Ms. Brown, this is still an open case. Please remember to show up in court when summoned. Keep up a good address. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, we can go to position number 5, Mr. Cross. Cross. Cross.
This is State versus James Cross. Mr. Cross is accused of criminal trespass and possession and use of a drug-related object. His case number is 25 CR 501F. Mr. Cross, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Chatay. Any prize? Mr. Howard,
The artist.
position 5. Oops.
Got an open case out of municipal court for shoplifting, possession of
Oh,
drug.
I'm sorry, Mr. Howard, your audio went out. Could you repeat this GCIC again?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
67. You got an open case out of municipal court, shoplifting and possession of drug-related objects. 2024 shoplifting conviction. 2023 trespass conviction. 2023 obstruction conviction.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Mulcahy?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is accused of trespassing at the MARTA station located at 235 Peachtree Street in Atlanta while having a permanent suspension. Officers found what they believe to be a crack pipe on his person. Given his history, we are asking for a surety bond. We'd ask that it just be a low surety bond. Stay away from MARTA, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. We are concerned that if released, he will reoffend.
Mr. Chatay, any objection to a total $1,000 surety bond, 500 on each count? He doesn't qualify for a signature bond.
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Cross, your bond is going to be set at $500 on each count, and it's a $1,000 surety. You have to stay away from all MARTA property. In case you didn't know, you have a permanent ban from all MARTA property, buses, trains, and stations. And your next court date is going to be February 13th.
Okay. Yeah. Next, Your Honor, we can go to position number 7, Mr. Grant.
This is SFO cases. Thank you. David Gress is accused of 1 count of battery family violence. Count 2 is simple battery family violence, and counts 3 and 4 and 5 are cruelty in the 3rd degree. This stemmed from a January 30th, 2025 incident under accusation number 25 CR 505J. Mr. Gress, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean, isn't it? Mr. McLean, this is your client, David Gress.
Very good, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any prize, Mr. Howard?
6. 08 probation, 02 probation.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from yesterday, January the 30th, in Roswell at the hotel at 9995 Old Dogwood Road. That's the Economy Hotel there. Police were called at about 2:50 p.m. They met with the victim, Mrs. Rosalinda Vega. She had marks on her arms as a result of being grabbed and shoved down to the ground by the defendant. He did that in front of their 3 children who were present in the room where they have been staying at the hotel. The victim reported that the defendant was angry because she'd been gone so long. She went to go donate plasma. He then grabbed her by her hair and yanked her in front of these children as well. We spoke to the victim today, Your Honor. She confirmed that that is what happened. She said that they've been living at the hotel She also reports this is not the first time that there's been violence towards her and that she's called the police multiple times, but they're always told to just separate for the evening. No one ever gets arrested. She does not wish to have contact, and we're asking for a stay away. If you could sound for the victim, Mrs. Vega, we're asking for a $5,000 surety. He's got history out of Texas, but the majority of his history is here in Georgia. I don't see violence, just driving, entering auto, and traffic information or issues, Your Honor. So we're asking for a $5,000 surety, no contact with Mrs. Vega or their children, to stay away from the address there on Old Dogwood Road and wherever she may be, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Ms. Vega, did you want to address the court or?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. I did not say no contact. I said I can contact or I can speak to him due to us having children.
Raise your right
The only
hand.
thing, yes.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Has there been a history of altercations at that motel?
Yes, ma'am. Well, from different hotels, yes, ma'am, but not at that one, no.
So there have been history of altercations between you and Mr. Vega and the defendant at different locations?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want contact with him?
Yes, for our children, yes.
Oh, he can have visitation. That's not a problem.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the only thing, I don't have an issue with David. He's a great man. He just has very bad anger issues. That's the only thing.
Okay. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Gress has worked at various restaurants. He washes and he cooks as well. So he has worked at, it's actually a sequence of restaurants here in Atlanta and even years ago in Texas. He has an 11th grade education, and considering his traffic type or whatever type of arrest record that was, we would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible, including a signature bond if that's possible.
Right. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $1,500 surety bond. The simple battery is, and the 3 cruelty charges are going to be $1,000 each. And these are going to be signature bonds through pretrial services, level 2. So his total bond is going to be 4,000, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,500, and that's a split bond, which means Mr. Gress, on count 1, battery family violence, you'll have to pay for that bond either out of your own pocket or through a bonding company. With regards to the remainder of the bond, you will be subject to a signature bond through pretrial services, where you have to report to pretrial twice a month. Okay. And you need to comply with the following conditions. Okay. First condition is no further contact with Rosalind Vega. You may have a third party to arrange visitation or communication with the children that you share with Mrs. Vega. You are to stay away from 9995 Old Dogwood Trail at the location where the children and Mrs. Vega live. You have to update the court with your new mailing address within 30 days of being released. If you return to the same place and live with your wife and children, you'll be in violation of the bond and you can be rearrested again. Okay. Within 30 days of being released, you will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. This is a series of 26 classes, and you'll have to attend and complete all classes without missing or skipping any of them. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you. Next court date is going to be February 13th.
Next, we can go with position number 1 on the add-on. Mr. Jackson. Come on, Jackson. When y'all hear your last name, please call up to the green chair.
DeMarcus Jackson's case is 25 CR 496A. Mr. Jackson's accused of criminal trespass from January 30th, 2025. Mr. Jackson, could you please sit up straight so we can see you? Thank you. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Mr. Shatai, excuse me. All right. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
2023 FTA, 2022 trespass conviction, 2018 failure to appear.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. McCarthy?
It would be myself, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, excuse me. Yes, go ahead.
No problem, Your Honor. On this particular case, Your Honor, the defendant presented before you was encountered by law enforcement at the Bank of America after having been advised that he was asleep on the outside by the wall and wanted off of the premises. In the presence of law enforcement, he was advised by the assistant manager, Ms. Freeman, that he needed to leave. To law enforcement, he replied that his legs were hurting and he could not move after some time, and that he needed emergency services. After some time passed, law enforcement did, in fact, contact Grady Emergency Services. But during the time that they were waiting for emergency services, Mr. Jackson got up and advised he needed to go to the bathroom, walked across the street to the store directly across from the bank, and observed to be walking perfectly fine and without any issue. He walked back when law enforcement confronted him about the fact that he had left the premises perfectly fine. He then remembered to limp and feign injury. Judge, at this time, based on this being his only, he has one arrest and a second arrest, this being his second, a prior criminal trespass in 2014. State's just going to ask for $1,000 bond. Stay away from the incident location of 3116 Peachtree Street Northeast. No alcohol, drugs without a prescription, or any weapons.
This is going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. And sir, you are to stay 200 yards away from the Bank of America location at 3116 Peachtree Street. 200 yards is the length of 2 football fields, so that should probably keep you away by at least 3 blocks. I don't know. I think it's 3 blocks long. But you cannot be seen anywhere near that area, including the bathroom across the street. Otherwise, you'll be back in jail. Thank you. Next court date is February 13th. Make sure you maintain an address with the courts.
Is it just a good bond or a signature bond to the jail?
Signature bond, jail.
So no court date?
No. Oh, yeah, sorry. Unless, yeah, sorry, no court date. You're correct.
Next, we can go to position number 9, Mr. McMurray.
Okay, Conrad McMurray is accused of battery, family violence, and criminal trespass. His case number is 25 CR 499C. And this is an incident from August 8th, 28th, 2024. Mr. McMurray, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is the same. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
4. Got an open sale of marijuana, 24 SC 002 941. 2017 suspended license. Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, you can hear me. This defendant is before you based upon there being on 8/28/2024, he left the home late that evening after being confronted by his wife about a claim of infidelity. He returned home the next morning at around 6 a.m. on 8/28/24, attempting to go through the front door, but he found out very quickly that it was locked, as well as the other doors to the home, by the victim. So he climbed through the bedroom window belonging to the victim and broke it off the hinges. Upon entering inside of the room, he struck the victim, his wife, in the face with a closed fist multiple times and kept repeating the words, quote, "wrong bitch," unquote, because the victim thought she knew who he was cheating with. Victim had visible injuries to her face, arm, and leg. Defendant took her phone and laptop as he was leaving the residence shortly after this altercation. During the struggle, she tried to regain possession of her items. The defendant threw her phone to the floor multiple times, causing it to break. Based upon the fact that he has 0 prior convictions, he does have an open case, as was remarked by pretrial. and an arrest for prior driving with a suspended license. State's just going to be asking for here a $2,500 good bond on the battery, family violence, and a surety bond and a $1,000 surety bond on the criminal trespass. Given the fact that the witness, being the victim, doesn't oppose and has stated that there have been a change in the dynamic and they have been all on the up and up, state's going to just request that there be a no further violent contact with Ms. Regina McMurray, and that he has no alcohol or drugs without prescription or weapons.
All right, Regina McMurray, if you want to start your video to address the court, that would be fine too. Okay, please unmute. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
So would that be correct? Are you ready to have contact with Mr. McMurray?
Yes, Your Honor. And if it's okay with you, I would wrote something that I would like to read to you.
From whom?
From me.
With regards to the circumstances of the case?
Yes, just from my perspective.
Go ahead. If you want to talk about the incident, please keep in mind that anything you say could be used, it could diminish his chances of getting a signature bond.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. I promise I will make it quick. I understand that the court takes situations like this very seriously, as it should. I want to make it clear that I do as well. I would like to take this time to share my perspective. My husband and I have been together for 15 years, married for almost 10 years, and in all that time, nothing like this has ever happened before. This was an isolated incident, and I truly believe the result of both of us being under extreme stress and experiencing personal struggles at the time. It does not define who we are as individuals or as a couple. Since the incident, we have taken active steps to heal and strengthen our relationship. We have been in marriage counseling, working on communication and addressing our mental and emotional well-being. We have started back going to church together and praying together every single day. Our relationship has made a complete turnaround, and we are in a much better and healthier place. Your Honor, my husband is an incredible man, a devoted father to our 3 children, Conrad Jr., Cannon, and Cody, never missing a beat with them and pouring into them. Even when he's away for work, he's always there for every basketball game, recital, and milestone. He's a hardworking provider who still finds the time to support and uplift me in all my endeavors. He's also deeply committed to helping others. He has dedicated his life to nonprofit work, taking over his father's 501c3 organization in 2018, an organization he's worked with since he was a teen. Anyone who knows him can attest to his good character, the love he has for me and for our family. I'm not afraid of my husband, nor do I feel unsafe. I do not believe further legal action is necessary. I respectfully ask the court to consider allowing us to move forward with our lives without further consequences that could harm our family's future. We have learned from this experience, and I'm confident that something like this will never happen again. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Mr. McLean, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. McMurray is 36 years old. She did steal my thought just a bit. They went to Canada after this.
Certainly did.
He's a high school graduate from Tucker High School and attended Georgia State University and became a Panther studying biology. He has not finished his college degree yet. He works for State Farm, a large insurance company, of course, analyzing catastrophic claims. Those are property claims. And we would ask the court to set as low bond as possible, including a signature bond if that is indeed possible.
All right. On the battery family violence, it's going to be $2,500. The criminal trespass is going to be $500. That's a $3,000 signature bond for pretrial services, level 1. Mr. McMurray, you can be released on a signature bond, but you have to report to pretrial once a month. Within 30 days of being released, you're going to be required to undergo a domestic violence intervention program. This is a series of 26 classes, and you will have to enroll, show proof of enrollment within 30 days, and then attend and complete all 26 classes without missing or skipping any of those classes. No illegal drugs, including marijuana, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. Your next court date will be sent to your current mailing address. Maintain a current address with the courts at all times. You're not to have any violent contact with the victim, in this case, your wife, and you can continue to live in the marital home if you both choose to do so. I think Mim Street was the location. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
About the trespassing, I own the house. I heard you mention something about trespassing. She doesn't own the house.
She's not your wife?
Yeah, it's mine and my mother's.
She owns the house, whether you like it or not.
I'm just saying, how is there? I was just wondering how it could be trespassing if she's not.
You and your attorney will flesh that out. But right now, you've got a release bond.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Write me a letter at the public defender's office asking your legal questions, and I'll reply.
Okay, sorry.
All right. Thank you, Ms. McMurray. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Your Honor, we could go to position number 4, Mr. Cisse. You missed it. An idiot.
Abdul Cisse is accused of battery and simple battery from January 15th, 2025, accusation 25 CR 500E. Mr. Cisse, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Chate. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
18. On probation, Douglas County, felony shoplifting. 2 FTAs from last year, 2 from 2023. 2022 ag assault, battery out of Clayton County, and a 2022 obstruction conviction. He's wanted out of Douglas County.
Ms. Mukeke?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened at 5100 Welcome All Road in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Ms. Morgan Evans. Officers arrived at the incident location and met with Ms. Evans, who they noted was in distress, and they also noted that she was covered in bruises. The victim told officers that the parties were arguing because she had attempted to make the bed while the defendant was in it. The argument turned physical when the defendant grabbed the victim by her hair and pinned her to the wall. He then proceeded to punch her in the back of her head and strike her legs with a hanger. The victim told officers that she was unable to escape because the defendant had her pinned against the wall. Officers located the hanger and noted that it was broken into several pieces. The defendant had left the scene by the time the officers arrived. Our office has spoken with Ms. Evans, who states that her and the defendant are in a relationship. They do not live together and they share no children. She did confirm the events in the warrant and confirmed that the incident location is her residence. She stated that she did call the police during this incident, but hung up the phone before speaking with dispatch. She told us that this incident was not as bad as it sounds. She states they have not seen each other since this incident, but they have communicated. She's not in fear of him and she wants to continue contact. The state's recommendation is a $3,500 surety bond. We do understand the victim's request, but we believe it is in her best interest and for her safety to have no further contact between the defendant and Ms. Evans, that the defendant stay away from the incident location and undergo anger awareness or an FVIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Morgan Evans.
Ms. Morgan Evans, if you'd like to contribute, you need to unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. McLean or Mr. Chate?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to ask this court to consider.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute it.
All right, take your cap off.
My hair not done.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what would you like to tell us? And we need to see your face, not walking around.
I want to drop the charges.
All right, anything else?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may put your cap back on and switch off your video. Sorry, Mr. Chate, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to ask this court to consider the lowest possible surety bond value that would secure my client's return. He's a lifelong Atlanta resident. He's 23. He reached the 12th grade in school, and he currently works for an import company handling different assignments. He operates a forklift, carries boxes, and he does other work around the warehouse. He's been in this line of work since he was 14, and no objection to the stay away and no further context.
No. Unfortunately, he doesn't qualify for a signature bond due to his multiple failure to appear. On the battery, it's going to be 2,000. On the simple battery, it's going to be 500. That's a 2,500 surety bond. No further contact with the victim, Ms. Morgan Evans, to stay away from 5100 Welcome Hall Road in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. His also got an outstanding bond, I think, of 31,500 on his other open cases. So we're going to reset all three cases to the SAP calendar, which is this new one, 25 CR 500E. The other case, 23 CR 007913E, and his bench warrant, 25 FTA 000207. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 15, Mr. Steger.
Elijah Steger is accused of theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass from December 26, 2024. Mr. Steger, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. His accusation number is 25 CR 0000465G. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
6. We got an open battery, 23 CR 004-522G. You gave him $1,000 good bond for that. 2024 driving without a valid license, 2023 FTA, 2022 obstruction, forgery in the 4th degree NOLO.
Okay. Is he on probation in 22 CR 3399G?
I saw that too, Your Honor, and it looks like it's a bench warrant. But you may see more than I do.
Yeah, it's a failure to appear before Judge Mather on November 30th, 2022. Okay. All right, Ms. Allen, what's the recommendation for the current case?
We're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, to stay away from 1105 Holcomb Bridge Road. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. This is an incident from December the 26th at about 6:45 p.m. That's an Exxon gas station and food mart. The defendant came in, is on surveillance, stealing some food items, and then walking out of the store very casually without paying. He'd been previously criminally trespassed from that location in April of 2023. The owner of the location and clerk called and spoke with police and showed the surveillance. He's got that open battery case that he's out on $1,000 good bond, and it looks like he's in bench warrant status on a 2022 case, Your Honor.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Steger is 22. He does have a stable address, good mail service. He graduated from high school in Boswell, Texas. His parents were military, so he was moving around, but Texas is where he graduated high school about 4 years ago, but he's been in Georgia a good bit since. He works for Keystone, and what they do is pressure washing under contract for MARTA, cleaning the MARTA stations with their pressure washer. He also does hair. He has barbering skills. We would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible, including a signature bond, if that is possible. And we did understand about the other case.
Miss Allen, what's the address of the Exxon gas station at the present time?
It's 1105 Holcomb Bridge Road.
On the theft by shoplifting is 1,500. The trespass is 1,000. Total bond is 2,500. It is a surety bond to stay away from the Exxon gas station at 1105 Holcomb Bridge Road. And we're also going to reset his, I guess, his other two cases for February 13th. And that would be 22 CR 003399G and 23 CR 004522G. Thank you.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Sure, why not?
It was just because of the fact that you're saying that I had open bench warrant for a driving without a license in 2022.
I'm not sure what the question is. Is it because, what do you mean?
Because in 2022, I was in Columbia County because of the obstruction and forgery. That's why I was confused by what it was that you were speaking of. It was 2022 or 2023.
You have a 22 CR case. It appears to be a driving matter, and you did not appear in court before Judge Mather without any valid excuse. So that you did not appear in court on November 30th, 2022. So that's the bench warrant for failure to appear.
Where is that at exactly? If you don't mind me asking?
You had a charge for no license, driving a motor vehicle on suspended registration, no insurance, and HOB. And the incident date was May 29th, 2022. All right, thank you. Next case, please.
Next, we can go to position number 14, Mr. Ridgway.
14. This is State versus Jaquavius Deshaun Ridgway, accused of battery, family violence, battery against a female who's pregnant, and cruelty in the third degree from March 9th, 2024. Mr. Ridgway, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Any priors, please?
For 2021 Semper battery, 2 counts. It's 21 CR 005 428H. He went to felony a couple of days ago. That bond is like about 210,000. That's it.
Miss Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. So the defendant was arrested for trafficking, and it looks like this warrant from March the 9th of 2024 was still active. On the 9th of March at about 10 p.m., police were called to a hotel at 2960 Piedmont Road. There they met with the victim, the main victim in this case, Kenyatta Woods. She shares a child with the defendant. It was a celebration of that child's first birthday. And he is the subject of that cruelty in the third degree. His initials are JW. Multiple people had gathered at the location for a party. During that party, the defendant punched Mrs. Kenyatta Woods in the face, knocking her off a chair. She was seen to have redness and bruising to her right eye as well as the left side of her face. He also struck her mother, Tiffany Woods, causing scratches on her chest. And Miss Kenyatta was 15 weeks pregnant at the time of this incident. It's alleged in the police report that the defendant brought his current girlfriend, only named as Bree, with him, and that there was a gun involved during this altercation. However, they'd fled the scene before police came. Multiple people gave witness statements, Your Honor. Also, a domestic violence investigator reviewed this case and followed up with the individuals present on that day and obtained these the warrants. We're asking for a $5,000 surety, no contact with Mrs. Woods or the child they share. Stay away from wherever she may live, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. We didn't charge a weapon. The defendant had fled. Obviously, there wasn't a weapon left on the scene. It's reported that his girlfriend took it to the car. But I do believe he was arrested in possession of a weapon when he came in with his new trafficking charge, Your Honor. We tried to get in touch with Ms. Woods today and have not been successful, but we'll continue those efforts if you'd sound for her, just in case she got our message. Thank you.
Ms. Kenyatta Woods, if you want to address the court, please unmute and start your video. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Ridgway is 25. He graduated from Life Christian Academy in Forest Park for high school. He's a musician and a musician engineer. So he deals not only with creating the music, but also the physical aspects of recording it. Like I said, he's 25, and we would ask the court to consider a signature bond or any bond that is a bond that is as low as possible, Your Honor, if a signature bond is not in the offing. Thank you.
On count one, that's going to be 1,500. On count two is 500. Count three is 2,500, and count four is 500. His total bond is going to be 5,000. Did I get that right? Yeah. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Kenyatta Woods. No contact with the minor JW. If he wishes to have any contact with a minor child, he must file a separate legitimation action to stay away from 2960 Piedmont Road at that particular hotel location, and he's required to stay 200 yards away from Miss Woods and her children or child. Thank you. Oh, next court date is February 13th. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons.
Your Honor, I think we reached a point where my only remaining case, I think this is correct, Mr. Parks, who is presence.
He waived his presence. Okay. 25 CR 506Y, Estate versus Joseph Parks, accused of terroristic threats and acts from September 8, 2024. Parks' presence has been waived pursuant to his appointed counsel, Mr. Michael McLean. Any priors on Mr. Parks, Mr. Howard?
27. He got open burglary trespass. 23 CP 219 136. On probation for burglary. That's another case. Interference with government property out of Coweta County. On probation for that. 2023, 2024 FTA. He got probations. He has a probation hold in Fulton. 2019 trespass, DV NOLO. 2018 FTA. 2020 FTA.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. Mr. McLean, what are we seeking? I mean, sorry, Miss Allen. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. The warrant in this case and the police report accompanying it specifically allege a felony, not a misdemeanor, even though the warrant is for a misdemeanor. It's alleged that in September on the 8th of 2024 at about 6:30 p.m., the defendant was standing outside of the residence of the victim, Benjamin Chastain, at 519 Harris Avenue in Palmetto, Georgia. He is captured on video with audio yelling that he was going to kill the victim as they yelled back and forth at each other. The defendant had left the scene, a warrant was obtained, and it was just served. He was given a $3,000 surety bond. When the warrant was obtained, we'd asked for that to remain the same, and no contact with Mr. Benjamin Chastain, and to stay away from that address, 519 Harris Avenue, again in Palmetto. We did request that this case be transferred, but that request was declined, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, he lives also in Palmetto, but he's on Sims Street and not Harris Street. And he is 28 years old. He has a GED and he works at Amazon and has done prior work, warehouse type work before that, Your Honor. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond or as low bond as possible, if not a signature bond.
Okay. Bond is set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Benjamin Chastain, and to stay away from 519, I think it's Harris Avenue in Palmetto, Georgia. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. Thank you. Next court date will be February 13th. Is this something that requires some kind of social worker visit or anything like that?
No, Your Honor, I didn't perceive that.
Oh, all right, February 13th. Was that your only case, Mr. McLean?
I think that's the last one.
All right, sir. I don't know where you need to hurry off to, but be safe and have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too.
Courtroom 2, do we have any other cases?
No, Your Honor, that was all for us.
Okay. Let me just go over the calendar. On the add-on cases, position number 1, that was a $1,000 signature bond through the jail for the notice for trial. Position number 2, that's going to be a $7,000 surety bond and reset to February 13. On the main SAP calendar, position number 1, Alexander, was a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Position 2, Anderson, was a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Position 3, Brown, was a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Position 4, CC, that would be a $2,500 surety bond, and that's reset to February 13th. Position 5, Cross, and that's going to be a $1,000 surety bond, reset date February 13th. Position 6, Green, is a $4,500 signature bond through pretrial level 2 with requirement to undergo the BARC program. 7, Gress, that was a $5,500 split bond, reset date is February 13th. Position 8, Holmes, is a $3,500 surety bond, reset date February 13th. Position 9, McMurray, that's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 with a DBIP requirement. Position 10, that's a $50,000 cash bond. A reset date is February 13th, along with 4 other cases that are open with state court. The DUI cases will be referenced to DUI court unless they ask SAP to address them, or vice versa if they want to take all the cases. Position 11, Oliver, and 12 for Oliver. Position 11 is a $6,000 surety bond, and position 12 is a $6,000 signature bond for pretrial level 3 with a DBIP requirement. Both cases are reset to February 13th. Position 13, Parks, is a $1,500 surety bond, reset February 13th. 14, Ridgeway, is a $5,000 surety bond, reset February 13th. And 15, Steger, is a $2,500 surety bond, reset date February 13th. Yes, Miss Nyaria.
It's not Aria. I was
your video on, please.
Okay.
And you need to lower your device so we can see you. And you need to take off. What would you like to ask the court?
I would like to ask, so Darian Welch was supposed to go to court today, but they said 11, then they changed it to 2. And I was wondering, when I joined this, Darian Welch.
Anyone know about that case?
It was an aggravated assault.
That's not on this calendar. This is a misdemeanor. Aggravated assault's a felony case.
Where was I supposed to go for the aggravated assault?
You would need to contact the Superior Court Criminal Clerks Division and get the Zoom.
Yeah, he went to court, Judge. They gave him $75,000 bond.
Okay, there you go.
Wait, they gave him a what?
75,000 surety bond.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, Tanisha Fisher, if you unmute and start your video, we can address your question. I don't know, Miss Grace, if you want to prompt that person, she's got her arm raised.
I did. In the meantime, are you in the courtroom or did you want me to send these via email?
Oh, email's fine. Thank you. Tatanisha Fisher? No? Going once? All right. Okay, folks, I don't know who Miss Fisher is, but if she reaches out to anyone, hopefully they can answer her question. Otherwise, y'all have a great weekend.
Hey, you tomorrow?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Hang on, Miss Fisher may, oh, there she is. You need to unmute. 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 Can't hear you, sorry. Does anybody recognize this person from any of the cases? Ms. Fisher?
So sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what happened there. But my dad, he was supposed to have court today. I got an
What's your
email.
dad's name?
Jermel Fisher.
And what's the charge?
I am not sure. I'm not in Atlanta. I just found out today.
We don't have Jermel Fisher on this calendar. This is misdemeanor cases. So, Mr. Howell, does that name ring a bell from felony court? How do you spell?
They didn't have a Fisher in felonies.
All right. How do you spell your father's first name?
It's JERMEL.
And his date of birth?
8/15. Go ahead.
He got a FTA. He been in custody since November.
Right. And they said that his court date was supposed to be on the 4th, but then they changed it.
What's the date of birth?
It's 9/15 and 70. I'm not really sure. 70.
You don't know your dad's date of birth?
It's complicated. Look.
I'll try to see if I can find him by
Well, the
name.
booking says 8/15/75.
Then that's it. That's him. It's 8/15.
All right. So he's got a bench warrant in a felony case. 24, you might want to write this down, 24 SC 000547 with Judge Whitaker, charged with aggravated assault. He's got a bench warrant, case number 24 FTA 001980. And his next court date is February 5th, 2025 at 10 a.m. in courtroom 5D, as in Denmark, before the Honorable Paige Whitaker. And I don't have the Zoom link for that calendar.
Okay, that was my next question. Is it a way that I can get the Zoom link?
I don't know if there's a Zoom link. That's Superior Court.
Okay.
You may have to show up in court in person.
Alrighty. Thank you.
All right, best of luck. Thank you. All right, I'm going to run before I have to do any more information desk work. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Stay warm.
You too. Bye-bye.